57 years ago, on August 31, 1964, Richard Allen Dobeski, at 16 years of age, murdered James and Judy Johnston's two minor children, Sean Johnston, 6 years old, and her brother Carrie, 3 years old. Richard Allen Dobeski lived next to the Johnstons in a town called Long Beach in Michigan Township, LaPorte County, Indiana. Richard Dobeski had just been released from a mental hospital at the time and already had a record of child molestation charges leading up to the double murder. Richard Dobeski was arrested hiding in the dunes after he had been sighted walking along the Lake Michigan beach in the Michiana Shores resort area. The sentence for murder in effect at the time was an indeterminate term of life, subject to parole. Accordingly, the trial court sentenced Dobeski to 2 consecutive life terms of imprisonment. In January 1985, Dobeski filed a petition for post-conviction relief, alleging violations of his constitutional rights during his trial. In 1989, the state agreed to reduce the 2 life sentences to 2 consecutive 40-year terms in return for Dobeski agreeing to dismiss his claims for post-conviction relief. In the year 2000, the Indiana Supreme Court rules that his 40-year sentence will stand. In 2003, Richard Allen Dobeski is released from prison on parole after serving 40 years inside. In 2007, Richard Dobeski is arrested again on child sex abuse material charges and on child molestation charges. Richard was initially arrested for molesting a 7-year-old boy. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison for the crimes. After serving 6 years in prison, he is released in 2013. Richard Dobeski was again re-arrested between 2013 and 2015 while living in Gary, Indiana, because he cut off his ankle monitor he was ordered to wear for keeping track of his whereabouts. In doing so, he violated his probation. On the 16th of July 2015, Dobeski is released from jail and goes to stay at a homeless shelter in Gary, Indiana. He has 7 days to register as a sex offender.
Convicted child killer and sex offender released in Northwest Indiana. He's out of prison and police want to make sure the public knows about it. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Elgis live in Gary with new information on his whereabouts tonight. Rob?
Ron, the Lake County Sheriff says Richard Dobeski is here in Gary and will register at a homeless shelter with his address. Now, it's important to note he is not wanted for any crime, but police believe because of his violent past, it's only a matter of time before he strikes again. Could this unassuming building, one of 3 homeless shelters in Gary, be convicted killer Richard Dobeski's new home? The Lake County Sheriff says Dobeski was dropped off at a shelter in Gary. He has 10 days to register as a sex offender, or a warrant will be issued for his arrest.
Also committed a double homicide about 50 years ago.
Dobeski served 4 decades for 2 brutal murders in Long Beach, Indiana. His victims were 6- and 3-year-old siblings.
Thought he'd be incarcerated for the rest of his life for murdering 2 young children.
But he was released in 2003 and years later convicted for child molestation and possession of child pornography.
He's not capable of being able to be in society without maybe conducting another sex act.
Dobeski is out again, released last Thursday. Law enforcement throughout Northwest Indiana used social media to track him and share his whereabouts with the public. Tonight, the Lake County Sheriff says he's in Gary. So to be clear, he's not wanted for anything right now, but Dobeski, if he does not abide by that time, that 10-day time frame, law enforcement says it can and it will go after him. Live in Gary, Indiana, Rob Elgis, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Kathy, back to you.
On the 23rd of July 2015, Richard Dobeski is re-arrested for failing to register as a sex offender.
With that breaking news, the convicted child killer and molester is back in jail at this hour in Indianapolis.
This is a picture from the Marion County Sheriff's Office after investigators arrested Richard Dobeski this afternoon there at the Central Library. His charge, failing to register as a sex offender. RTV6's Chance Walzer has been following the bizarre story all evening long. Chance is live with what he's now learning and why Dobeski, originally from Northwest Indiana, is now in Indianapolis. Chance?
You mentioned police took Dobeski into custody earlier this afternoon. Witnesses inside who were inside when it happened tell me it was done very discreetly. They say if they hadn't just been looking up at the time, they wouldn't have known that there was any commotion going on. The Marion County Sheriff's Office later tweeted out the picture that you saw of Dobeski in handcuffs, typing "captured." He is now being processed into the Marion County Jail, charged with failing to register as a sex offender. This is a story we've been following all week. Dobeski recently made his way to Indianapolis from Northwest Indiana after doing 2 prison stints, one in the 60s for killing 2 kids, the other in 2008 for a child molestation conviction. Again, witnesses here at the library this afternoon say his arrest took place quietly without incident. Live downtown tonight, Chance Walser, RTV6.
On February 9, 2016, Richard Dobeski was convicted in a Marion County court and was sentenced to serve 910 days with 202 days of credit for time served. On the 20th of October 2016, Richard Dobeski was again arrested for failing to register as a sex offender and went to court on the 26th of October 2016. On the 12th of December 2016, Richard Dobeski appealed the decision over his conviction for failing to register as a sex offender. Dobeski's defense argued that he should have been given 7 calendar days, excluding weekends and the day of his release. The Court of Appeals ruled in Dobeski's favor. By state law, Dobeski is permitted to apply the time he served for the Marion County conviction to any related LaPorte County crime. The prosecutor's statement said Dobeski was held for the charges in LaPorte County beginning July 23, 2015, and the circumstances were for the same alleged time period of failing to register relied upon in the Marion County case. Dobeski's Marion County conviction was reversed and his sentence vacated. The time that he served in the Marion County case would have been credited to any possible sentence in LaPorte County. The maximum sentence in Indiana for failing to register as a sex offender is 2.5 years, or 1.25 years with the state's day-for-day credit. Dobeski had already served the maximum amount of jail time possible if he was convicted in LaPorte County. Due to this, Dobeski was released on January 30, 2017.
A warning from local police about this man you see right there. Long Beach police say Richard Dobeski will be released from the LaPorte County Jail tonight. He was convicted of killing 2 siblings in the 1960s and sentenced to prison. After being released for that crime, he was arrested in Indianapolis for failing to register as a sex offender. Police say he is being released again, and they say to warn your kids to stay away.
Richard Allen Dobeski, on release from prison, became homeless and went to live at the Wheeler Mission Shelter for Men in Indianapolis. The children Richard Dobeski murdered were found in a crawl space beneath Dobeski's home. The boy Carrie had been stabbed multiple times and the girl Sean was strangled with a cord that was looped around her neck and one of her wrists. When the Delphi murders occurred, I believe Richard Dobeski had a long thick gray beard and long graying hair going by his latest mugshot at the time. Dobeski is 6 foot and 175 pounds. I think Dobeski could be possibly considered as a crossover sex offender given the nature of his crimes. On March 23, 2017, a LaPorte judge had ordered Richard Dobeski, a convicted child molester and killer, be tried in Stark County on new charges of violating the sex offender registry. The charges were connected to the 2007 child molestation case where he apparently failed to register as a sex offender. A year later, on May 23, 2018, Dobeski was cleared and found not guilty of failing to register as a sex offender. In 2022, it's believed 74-year-old Richard Allen Dobeski is living in Michigan City, Indiana. He should have never been released from prison and could still be a danger to the public even with his declining health.